Right, I think we should wind up on that, but I just wanted to pick up another issue that was also raised by the Member of Parliament of Igembe North, that is Maoko. He says that we should tighten laws on bail terms to arrest graft. This is what he's advising the MPs. We may just pick up this, a clip from the Daily Nation. Let's just discuss this, because I think this is where we have all the biggest loopholes. Yes, we have people who are arraigned in court, and then we have bails that are being used and abused, so to speak, I don't know. But I think people have a leeway now to, even seek bails, what do we normally call it? It escapes my, before you even apprehended in court, you've gone
preemptive.
A preemptive bail. Yeah, could you just talk about it and discuss this? But because I think this is very pivotal. Because, for instance, let me just give an example where they feel frustrated. For instance, we have the deputy or the director of public prosecutions. They've been actually following a terrorist, dedicating a lot of resources over the years. You get this terrorist. He's actually put in the slummers. He goes to to court. Of course, there have been maybe vestiges or some stitches of proofs that he's been embroiled in corruption. But after all that arduous work, you're given a bail. How do you expect the people, the prosecutors and the people, the investigators who've been doing this arduous work to actually feel at the end of the day? Is there a way we can try and tighten our bail terms so that it is not used? He says that it is being used in a very pedestrian manner. That is the sentiment of former Member of Parliament of Igembe North. Let's hear from you.
I think first Debarl, what my good friend Malcolm Morris should appreciate,
yes,
is that in 2010 the people of Kenya went to the polling stations and they approved a new constitution, 6 point something plus Kenyans, and this constitution as a bill of rights. The issue of bail, there was history to this. What used to happen, Debarl, is that the police used to use suspects as a bait for soliciting for bribes. What used to happen is that when you are presented before court, the prosecutor will approach the accused person and say, if you part with some cash, I will not oppose your release on bail. But if you don't pay, then I will oppose your release on bail. So what the people of Kenya said, and it's captured well in Article 49, is that we now made bail to be a constitutional right. It's there, if you read Article, I think 49H, that anybody who is charged with a criminal offense.
But he seems to appreciate that.
Yeah, let me tell you what the Constitution says.
In the Constitution, but yes, how can we tighten it?
Is entitled to be released on bail on reasonable terms. Now, the only rider, and I want to emphasize, the only rider is that you will only be detained pending your trial unless there are compelling reasons. So, where there are compelling reasons, what happens is that the investigating officer can come to court and swear a comprehensive affidavit for the court to consider. And in cases of torture, if you have compelling reasons that should warrant the suspect to be detained pending trial, the court will listen and it will make an informed decision. So the first point we need to appreciate is that bail is a constitutional right, but there is a rider to that right, in that if there are compelling reasons, then the suspect can be detained pending trial. But Debarl, I want to say that releasing a suspect even on corruption, facing corruption charge in court, does not mean that that case will not succeed. Because the court can release you on very strong terms. One of them would be that you are not supposed to have any contact with witnesses, and that if you did that, then your bond or bail could be cancelled. You have seen in Brazil, the president, De Silva, he was tried while he was out on bail, but still was convicted and sentenced to 12 years in jail. The city hall scam, the cemetery, the suspects were charged and released on the same day on reasonable cash bail terms, but they are in jail. After trial, the court found them guilty and jailed them. So let's not push this, scenario agenda that if you are released on bail, then that is a leeway to freedom, that the court will never find you guilty. You can be released.
We should try and see it on what context is he asking for this, especially in light of fighting graft is what he's really talking about. Because we've had a lot of people who've been embroiled. We can talk about NYS. Some of the principal secretaries have been involved in this corruption. Then they say, well, we don't have any credible evidence. A lot of money, a tidy sum of money has been lost. Well, I don't know what evidence we normally look for, right?
I think what I wanted
scot-free because
what I wanted to emphasize,
they have anticipated bail before they even been mentioned in court. They have anticipatory bail, I should say, right?
Economic crimes is about paper trail. This is about records. I mean, if you gave somebody a contract and you paid them money, and this money went to a certain bank, and you can follow up and see that these deliveries were never made, even if that person is out on bail, there's no way he's going to interfere with that kind of evidence. That's why we call them economic crimes.
Thank you. Kioni.
I think the only thing that, and what your Senator has said is what is contained in the Constitution, and perhaps the position in law. But the only thing is that the public is so angry with the amount of money that has been lost in an institution, that when a person is apprehended and then released the following day, they feel shortchanged. So there is the issue of the public anger on this issue, and if we really have to deal with graft, we have to, the judiciary may need to become a little bit more innovative. I don't know how, so that even as they implement or even as they interpret the law, they still are able to satisfy the public that we are all concerned, we are all in this game together, fighting corruption. And I think I agree. We seem to have made it very easy for any person to be given bail by what we provided for and passed in our Constitution. But you remember also, it is perhaps something of our own undoing, because this a list of persons, other than even criminals, was being used for political reasons. If elections are somewhere near the corner, and there is need to ensure that Omogeni does not run against another popular candidate somewhere, he would quickly be picked by the police and then charged with some funny offenses and kept inside for as long as they wish. That really informed this provision in the Constitution. We never wanted the police to arrest people for political reasons, and people to be held behind bars for no good reason. And so it was, we were doing away with that aspect of it being used for political whipping people, as a political whip. But I hear what Mheshimiwa is saying from Igembe, is that the public is concerned.
Yes. This
Constitution that we passed seems to be allowing every other person we think is guilty to have a scot-free. But again, we must be very careful so that it's always easier to say that people should be held inside until it is your turn, if it's a question of turns. And I think we need to just allow the judiciary to become more innovative. There is some leeway that has been given to them. We've seen them use it in the last couple of cases that have gone before them, and it has been a bit satisfying to the public. They need also to listen to the public and look at some of those the reasons that are compelling, or some reasonable conditions that the public also says, yes, now we are all in it together. We are fighting corruption, all of us.
Thank you. Samuel Poghisio also be preparing your...
I think the context in which Maoka is saying these things is basically, let's also be consistent. In my view, the judiciary also be consistent, because if in one case terms are varied, in another case it's different. Even if it is possible, let it be consistent with the crime. Let it be consistent with, if it's a corruption thing, you find one person comes in and they are denied bail is delayed, and then another one comes and the same day is done. So maybe what he's trying to say is basically, let's show seriousness on this matter. But I agree, it is a right, it's a human right, and I think, we go back and forth as a country. When we introduced, we said no more caning of our children. We said it And now we're saying bring it back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
But that's the nature of life. So what Mahoko is saying, let's reconsider even some of the things that we said for the sake of the current situation. So I think you said it in the right context.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, just very briefly, Debarl, I think this debate happens in criminal justice, and the real problem is between what we call legal justice, social justice, if you wish, and legal justice, and how the two are dispensed, and the perception of what is wrong and right. In terms of legal justice, Debarl, you're right, because in terms of legal justice, social justice, you feel that this person has wronged and this person should be punished. The law creates an equality, and therefore the penal system also creates a system of sanctions so that those who have wronged actually are seen to be wrong. But unfortunately, in legal justice, even if the judge saw somebody being murdered, he still has to listen to the evidence, and that creates a complication. But I think some sort of innovativeness needs to be put into place, because people feel very bad. For example, when bail terms are very easy, when bail terms seem relatively low compared to the amounts of money that have been taken if it's an economic crime, for example. So I think there's a need to regularize, I think, and try to get a consensus or some sort of closing in between those various very diverse view, the social justice perspective and the legal justice perspective, and especially when transitions are being made.
Yes.
Like, I don't know whether you've seen the clip that is doing rounds where in a particular country cars were imported illegally and they were just crushed with a bulldozer, just to give a message that this is the wrong way of doing it, because I think that's where we want to move ourselves to, so that this is also reflected in the bail systems that we put into place and how they are actually dispensed.
Thank you very much. Dr. Nyikal, finally, as we're wrapping up.
Basically, what's happening is that the country is angry, the country wants to see action, and what Honorable Mauro is saying is just expressing that. But on the other hand, we have the Constitution. But even if you look at the Constitution actually provides that you can actually you can actually be more harsh, because it says unless there are compelling circumstances. I think it may be possible within the laws to actually outline for our purposes in this country what are compelling circumstances. It also says that you can you are really just entitled to bail if the offense is punishable only by fine or less than 6 months. All these are giving us a leeway where we can actually tighten things so that we are still within the Constitution.
Thank you. All right.